The apocalypse, apparently, is just around the corner.
Humanity is on thin ice, and that ice is melting fast.
But for my money, the climate can wait. More immediate near-death experiences have already arrived in the financial sector with the collapse of Silicon Valley and signature banks, and days later an echo across the Atlantic when UBS agreed to take over Credit Suisse.
The swift and stabilizing solution was absolutely necessary.
It's still not clear whether this bank panic is headed toward self-resolution or more government interventions. The most striking event so far was the speed with which the Biden administration broke the statutory barrier of $250,000 on insured deposits to guarantee all deposits. Then this.
Similar actions could be warranted if smaller institutions suffered deposit runs that pose the risk of contagion.
In just 2 years, Joe Biden has produced what should be regarded as the bailout presidency.
Congress and this administration that have massively spent and borrowed money at a reckless pace, trillions of dollars. That led to inflation nation. That's put incredible stress, financial stress on these banks.
Exhibit A is the executive order issued last August, citing the pandemic as an emergency under the 2003 HEROES Act that forgives some $400 billion in student loan debt.
This student loan forgiveness, this bailout, is just one more slap in the face from an administration that's trying to kill our jobs.
I pay for my student loan and everyone else should pay for theirs too.
It effectively means nationalizing those costs with the wave of a presidential hand.
Some Republicans want Medicare and Social Security to sunset. I'm not saying it's a majority.
Exhibit B is Mr. Biden's State of the Union speech, in which he announced a no-limits bailout of Social Security and Medicare.
And if anyone tries to cut Medicare, I'll stop them. I'll veto it.
More notable, though, is Mr. Biden's unmistakable message that any bipartisan discussion on slowing spending is off the table.
These guys are the fiscally demented, I think.
The Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the bill, as amended, is passed.
Next up is the Biden Inflation Reduction Act, which includes $370 billion for an array of climate-related projects, but most specifically to support alternative energy technologies such as wind and solar. Democrats call these outlays investments. Forget that false euphemism. They are simply subsidies and should be properly regarded as Biden bailouts of private sector initiatives that still cannot survive in a competitive market.
We need to scale up climate finance, but we need desperately to scale down anti-climate finance.
It is one thing to bail out a bank or two to stop a financial panic, but the clear intention of the mandarins in the Biden White House is to eliminate the risk of all government obligations, past and future.
Problem that we've seen most recently is that we're reaping the consequences of lighter regulation. Banking should be boring, and we have a chance here in Congress to make banking more boring again. We should take it now.
One can argue that bailout economics on this scale will hit the inflation wall, and it has, or that inflation's cost would chasten Biden White House officials. It has not.
How come they missed the red flags? This bank had grown over 60% in 3 years in a row. There was this enormous ballooning.
Mr. Biden was in Nevada this week to talk about lowering the cost of prescription drugs.
If you look at the polling data, it's overwhelmingly popular, what we proposed. Matter of fact, it's a hell of a lot more popular than I am.
No joke. It was a taste of the Biden re-election strategy to come. His assignment? Just deliver the White House's paint-by-numbers campaign speeches. Unanswered, the Biden bailout presidency could win a second term.